வராது.
Hi, very good morning, everyone. So this is good morning here, and would be Malaysia. It's good afternoon. I just need to be sure that I am audible to everyone. So I just need some response from somewhere that I should not be talking without any audible. So am I audible?
Clear and audible.
It's so nice to connect with all of you again. It's great feeling. Moreover, without coming Malaysia, I'm able to connect with you. That's awesome. So I'm gonna take the session on pelvic rehabilitation. We've been planning from longer. So and definitely I wanted to come there and do the session with you all how we have done earlier session, but somehow the situation have not allowed us, but we will not get postponed. We'll keep doing some of things. So today's session gonna be a pelvic rehabilitation, which you know that this is one of my favorite subjects. Let me start once again for you. So I'm just gonna share with you. So this technology I'm learning. Still I'm learning. I'm quite new, but I'm trying to do best. Great. So my presentation is visible, I guess. Today is pelvic rehabilitation. So as we all know, this session is not where I'm sitting with in front of you. This session is somewhere I'm in India, and you are in different country, and we are connected together to discuss one subject today. So there is a lots of technical glitch which I could found to keep those things in mind. I made a presentation where I just want to share information where you can start at least practicing. So the thing is, first of all, what is a pelvis? So everybody, I'm very much expecting we all know what exactly the pelvis is, what I'm talking right now, but what technicality between the pelvis, what exactly which we're gonna say, and what exactly the content of the pelvis, and kind of the muscle response to our day-to-day life, that is going to be discussed. So before we start, I would like to share, I would like to show you one pelvis which is just in front of you. Maybe you can see my video also. This is the pelvis. This is usually which we say women pelvis, and the internal organ we can see in the internal organ uterus and the ovary, and you can see the down part which is like a saucer, which is covering the outlet of the pelvis down, which is the pelvic floor muscle. So I'm more gonna concentrate. Pelvic rehabilitation is huge. So in 1 hour, I thought to concentrate more on the pelvic floor muscles. So today I'm going to talk about the pelvic floor muscles. So first of all, I need you to make a picture in your brain how exactly this would be in center of your body. How exactly would have been this would be placed in you. What exactly the placement of the pelvic floor when you're sitting on your chair, where exactly it might have been located. How exactly this look like. This is how it look like. So this is the pelvic and pelvic floor muscle. If you go to the next slide. Okay. So yeah. So this is a pelvic bone. First of all, let's understand what exactly. I know everybody will be knowing, but I'm going to start from. Let me start from zero. So if you see pelvis, which is central part of the body, it contains lots of bone, individual bone, and it has lots of joints also. So the bone which it has, that is a sacrum, which is connected with your spine. That is a sacrum which you have. That ilium you have. This is a bone which is you can see side to side. This is the ilium which you can see. And the dying down of the sacrum, which is extending down the small thing which is tailbone, that is called as coccyx, which is flexible and it goes inward. And that also has major role when we're talking about the pelvic floor rehabilitation. Other than that, the bone where we are sitting right now, we are sitting usually, if you are sitting very correct and in a very smart sitting, it means you are sitting on your sacrum. And when you slouch and sitting, that means you're sitting on your coccyx. So this is how, when you're sitting straight, this is the sacrum sitting which you are doing. And it has many joints. If you can see in front, there is a joint. This is called as pubic symphysis joint. And so the joint where the sacrum and the ilium bone get connected, this joint, this is called as sacroiliac joint. So sacroiliac joint, two sacroiliac joint on the back, one pubic symphysis joint in front, and another, there is a few joints which is there with the coccyx joints. So these are the joints which is very minimum mobile, and certain episode of the life it will get mildly mobile. So these all, why I am talking about, this all has a major impact on your rehabilitation plan. So first of all, we should be knowing about this. Second thing, it's very interesting. Always we talk about the pelvis. Second thing, we should be talking about the male pelvis and female pelvis. As we're going to concentrate more over the female pelvis, let's understand how exactly the male pelvis and female pelvis differ. If you have attended my course, I would have explained you how exactly to locate also the male pelvis and female pelvis and pure women pelvis, how exactly to clinically find out. Here, if you see picture, you can see, so mainly male pelvis inlet, the outlet would be restricted, and the transverse outlet, if there is a one thing anterior posterior, if you can see, so this is a anterior posterior outlet, this is anterior posterior outlet, and this is transverse outlet. So you can see in the female pelvis, the transverse outlet is higher the AP outlet. And when you male, you see the AP outlet is more higher than transverse. And this, why they needed? It is needed for baby birthing. It is needed for childbirth. So that kind of pelvis mold is needed. So that's what the women has a different kind of pelvis. And if you can see in front of the pelvis, the angle of the pelvis front, where you can see the angle is much more higher, and where you see the arch of the pelvis, arch of the angle of pelvis is something very narrow. So the pelvis arch also goes higher and the widen. This is also another thing which will be seen in the female pelvis. And more interestingly, I would like to share with you where the male pelvis when they born, the pelvis, the way they born, the same way they'll grow till they mature. But women pelvis, they don't really born with women pelvis. It will be not to flare out, the inlet output would not be so higher. So they're not really born with the female pelvis. But what is happening when they grow and when they come to puberty? That is the time women pelvis will turn as a real women pelvis, gynecoid pelvis kind of pelvis, where the transverse outlet goes higher. So you can see the transformation is happening so much on the bone of the women also. So from the puberty, it will grow, get wider and grow, get wider till menopause. With the influence of hormone, it will go get wider, and it will just like a women pelvis, because the work is done from that time. That from that time it will start shrinking back till the late mature age. So the transformation of the pelvis is throughout. So this is very interesting. And when something is transforming throughout the life, so there is a muscle also. No, the muscle also has to transform. The muscle, the angle of the muscle and the angle of the force also has to get changed. So these are very important things to keep it in mind. So see, remembering everything about the muscle, which I'm not expecting right now, just to keep in something, because we're going to work on more in the exercises basis, keep something on mind where the pelvic floor muscle, which I have showing you this thing which is saucer down, this just consider this has a three layer. So more superficial layer, middle layer, and the deep layer. This is how let's understand. The more superficial layer, that is called as superficial pelvic floor, will be concentrated more around the opening. So this is a more superficial muscles. And then the deeper fascia. The fascia will make the pelvic floor muscle stable. So middle is a fascia, and the deep muscle, which is deep pelvic floor muscle, which is important. Levator ani, iliococcygeus, which is a pubiococcygeus, iliococcygeus, and puborectalis, and obturatus internus, and piriformis also somewhere. So these are the deep muscles. These are the deep pelvic floor muscle, and this is a more important muscle which we are going to concentrate. So the concentration has to be again superficial also, deep also. So these are the layers which we will be talking about. So levator ani. So see, whenever we talk about the pelvic floor muscle, we talk about the thick muscle which is lying inside like a saucer, levator ani, which is quite thick and it contracts. So the levator ani is, when we're talking about levator ani, let's understand, no, what exactly is connected with the levator ani? Is the levator ani individual muscle which is not connected to the, or it has some connection? Yes, this levator ani is attached to pubic symphysis to coccyx, and laterally it attached with the other muscle which is piriformis and obturatus internus also. What does it mean? It means if there is any problem with obturatus internus and piriformis, then there will be influence of pelvic floor muscle also. So that is a time only treating pelvic floor muscle will not helpful for you. That is the time you have to work on complete the sling of the muscle, which is include your levator ani, your piriformis, your obturator internus. If you can see in this picture, it is very much visible. Levator ani, coccygeus muscles also, piriformis and obturator internus. And other than that, so obturator internus in a simple way. So just to make things much more easy to understand, you know the pelvic floor muscle is saucer, it contracts and relax. But the muscle which is connected to the pelvic floor muscle, obturatus internus and piriformis, it has different work also. That what is the different work they have? They have a lateral hip rotators, they have hypertonus. If it is the levator and this obturator internus and the piriformis muscle weak, or it get hypertonus, or it is get like tight. So what exactly can happen? What exactly women can feel? They'll feel trigger point, which will be there in the vaginal area and the rectal area and the clitoris. Piriformis syndrome will go higher, and the refer pain will be mimicking as a lots of discomfort on the areas. So, functional, what is the primary function of the pelvic floor muscle? We always know the pelvic floor muscle, it's kept on the saucer like, and it has to control only urine. No, it's not only to control urine inlet and outlet, it's nothing only that much. It has lots of major work. So we're gonna understand what exactly the major work of your pelvic floor muscle. So there is a 5 layer of the work which I have written. Sphinctering work, support work, stability, sexual activities, and lymphatic pump. These are most important work which is assigned for your pelvic floor. If there is any of single work your pelvic floor not performing, that says it has a pathology. It is not functioning well. So that is how your work to rule out where exactly. So it's very interesting. When we are talking support, it means pelvic floor muscle is related to support system, which is other core muscle. If you're talking about the sphincteric hold, it is again related to sphincter and again related to superficial more pelvic floor muscle. So this is how every work pelvic floor muscle is associated with different muscle group and posture also. So first of all, let's talk about the sphincteric support. So you can see in the first picture which I could collect and I could present there. The first picture which you can see the pelvic floor muscle which is just holding side to your urethral sphincter. When the another picture, if you see the pelvic floor muscle, if it is not strong enough to hold the sphincter, what will happen? The sphincter control or the hold of the sphincter will not be so stronger. So whenever there is an intra-abdominal pressure increases, the pelvic floor muscle has to work to hold. If the muscle is weaker, what will happen? Whenever there is intra-abdominal pressure, whenever the feel of urine, it will come out. So sphincter control is the primary work of your pelvic floor muscle. Second work of your pelvic floor muscle, support. This is very important work which pelvic floor muscle performing. You can see two picture which is seen here. One weak pelvic floor muscle and one normal pelvic floor muscle. If you can see weak pelvic floor muscle, how this is a good pelvic floor muscle. And when if it is weak, it will get slided. So if it is sagging down, there is a content also right inside. So that content definitely has its own attachment, ligament, and other small attachment which is to hold. But major support system is pelvic floor muscle. If pelvic floor muscle is lax, is sagging down, so for some time the other ligament will hold the organ in its position, but that hold is not strong to continue doing it throughout life. In a certain phase, those also ligament will start getting loose and your organ will start descending down. Yeah, so this is also another important function where the pelvic floor muscle is performing. Stability. So after support, the stabilities are again functional. So for the stability, your pelvic floor muscle, which is down. So this pelvic floor muscle for the stability is working along with your trunk muscle, which is around your abdominal area. Your transverse abdominis, your internal external obliques, your back muscle, your main and your diaphragm. So main core muscle is, you know what is the main core muscle is? Just to remind you once again, the most important core muscle, first diaphragm, down pelvic floor. Front transverse abdominis, back multifidus. So like a box, this is a core muscle. So we all know one core muscle. If it is pelvic floor, one core muscle, if it is weak, so it will directly influence your diaphragm. Or other way, if your diaphragm not functioning well, it will impact your pelvic floor muscle. Yes. Second thing, the pelvic floor muscle and transverse abdominis, your abdominal muscle, which is a corset of your belly. Transverse abdominis, very strong muscle. So that is kept like this. If by chance your your transverse abdominis is weak, example I would say weaker in sense of, just take example of your diastasis recti, where the abdominal transverse abdominis is less and loosen and the stone is little lesser. So what will happen? Directly it is going to impact efficiency of your pelvic floor muscles. This is how it is correlated. So stability, it is so important to not only concentrate on your pelvic floor muscle, concentrate on your transverse abdominis, your multifidus, on your diaphragm. So if this four muscles strong, then only you will be able to achieve a maximum stability. So see, right now I'm just talking little theoretical. Slowly I will correlate with the clinical also. So you will have a more idea. Okay, so stability, how stability will interfere, how exactly we can lose the stability. And when we are treating the stability problem, if we are treating when we found the pelvic floor muscle is weakened because of the malalignment of the posture, so what should be the treatment plan which we have to make it? Another most important which I could see, I don't know how many people they practice and how much they are sensitized, every breathe. So how many times we breathe per day? We breathe, it is very interesting. We breathe around 24,000 times a day. We breathe. That is the time we inhale and exhale, automatic. We don't count. And when we breathe, each breathing contracting your core muscle, each breathing functioning of your core muscle. So I would like to show you this video which I could capture. You can see how it is happening. So I'm going to revise this once again after when you complete. Yeah, see this. So whenever this person, this female breathing, the ribs which is getting elevated because of the muscles, the diaphragm which is there at the time of inhale. So at the time of inhale, what is happening? At the time of inhale, so at the time of inhale, the diaphragm getting pushed down and it is affecting the pelvic floor muscle. So I'll just stop in inhale and show you. So you can see two pictures. So the down line with inhale and diaphragm I'm showing, the diaphragm. So the down part with inhale. So just I need everyone to inhale once. Inhale from belly. When you inhale, the down part is when the diaphragm will descend down. And when you exhale, your diaphragm will go back to place. The same way, when you inhale, your pelvic floor muscle goes down. When you exhale, pelvic floor muscle comes up. And the same thing happens with the abdominal also and support system of your back multifidus also. So this is the function works all together. I'm going to revise you once again. When this inhale and exhale pattern is reversed, paradoxical breathing, what will happen? So we'll go to sexual activity. For sexual activity, pelvic floor muscle strength is too important to stabilize the vaginal wall properly. So if the pelvic floor muscle is weak, it will not hold the vaginal wall tightly. It will get lax. So if it will get lax, that will also interfere with the sexual activity also. And last panel, which we really don't look at, being a physios, we don't look at. But what happens when the pelvic floor muscle tightly contracting and relaxing, the kind of rhythmic contraction which is happening and relaxing, that is very essential for this the The lymphatic pump, its work as lymphatic pumps and it drains out the fluid. You know, the lymphatic system is so important for our body, for immunity. So this also happens. Sometimes many of the infection, it happens just because of retaining lots of fluid in pelvic girdle area. There is a retention of the fluid inside. The pain, discomfort, inflammation, infection, these all things because of retaining a lots of fluid. So if there is a proper pelvic floor, proper squeezing happening regularly and functioning properly a pelvic floor muscle with each rhythm of the breathing, so there is a possibility you can extend, you can really able to prevent this all things that we have spoken about. So when we are talking specific to pelvic floor, there is a list of the, just to tell you, just to get familiar with the name. I don't want you to break your head into each subject. Just to get familiar, these are the basic cause which will make the pelvic floor to get dysfunction. So habitual posture, I would say the way which I am practicing, my 50% success comes with the wrong postural practice, slouch practice, and extreme lumbar lordosis practice, and they're not able to engage transverse abdominis practice. So yes, so more of your concentration as a physio gonna be here to understand what posture will influence how to pelvic floor muscle. Some posture, the standing position, will maybe it will make your pelvic floor muscle overstretch, and some posture can make your pelvic floor muscle kept in tight position. So posture has very important role for functioning your pelvic floor muscle. Childbirth, you know the pelvic floor muscle gets stretched 3 times than its original. So if this is the origin, so this is if it is length of the pelvic floor muscle, so it will get stretched so much. You can see my palm. So if this is this much is pelvic floor muscle, this will stretch double and triple. So this much stretching of pelvic floor muscle has happened. So if it is stretching and bringing back easily, then the pelvic floor muscle physiologically will recover faster. But if it is sustaining triple stretch for longer, long duration of the labor, that is a time trauma and damage of the pelvic floor muscle happens. Sexual abuse is another concern, which is the another concern which we have to look for. Post sexual abuse also we find trauma in the pelvic floor muscle. Lack of pelvic floor and inner core. So we practice usually, we don't concentrate more onto the inner core muscle, and we always forget pelvic floor muscle is part of your core muscle. It's a family of the core muscle. When we are isolating the other core muscle and we are just concentrating on the pelvic floor muscle, believe me, there'll be no result. So only doing Kegels has no result. So you have to have a proper protocol when you're looking for the treatment. Post surgically, there is a lots of trauma will happen. Pelvic inflammation, traumatic injury to the pelvic region, and the chronic cough and staining, constant increasing intra-abdominal pressure and increasing the more pressure on the pelvic floor. Then also pelvic floor will get strained and trauma can happen. So, sorry. Okay, I pushed the slides. So always we've been talking, right? Like whenever we talk about the pelvic floor muscle, you know, we talk only about Kegel exercise. Now we only talk about the strengthening of the pelvic floor muscle. But yes, so there is nothing only pelvic floor muscle get loose. There is a lots of other protocol of the pelvic floor muscle dysfunction. It's not only about loosening. It can be loose also, but it can be tight also. It can be malaligned also. So this is how. So the pelvic floor muscle dysfunction can be hypotonus. It can be hypertonus muscle dysfunction. It can be incoordinated muscle dysfunction. It can be visceral muscle dysfunction. It can be non-functional dysfunction also. It can be combined of one or two dysfunction also. I don't want you to concentrate here. Let's little more understand about what exactly I mean to say hypotonus and hypertonus of the pelvic floor muscle. in shorter duration, I think I can cover this well. So when you talk about hypotonus, the name itself saying the tone is hypo, less tone, hypotonus muscles. It means too loose muscle inside the pelvis, hypotonus. So when the muscle is hypotonus, the muscle will be sling out, the displacement or the organ will not be placed properly, and there will be possibility of other condition. But where the muscle can be hypertonus also, the muscle is too tight. So you understood the muscle can be hypertonus, too loose also, and muscle can be too tight also. Overactivation of the Kegel exercise. Excessive, not understanding whether you have loose muscle or tight muscle. On top of we keep doing our Kegel exercise. So that is how which we really need to identify. So whether this muscle is hypotonus muscle or hypertonus muscle. Hope I'm not boring you all. You really go into very fast, and this is you have seen me always. So let's understand when the muscle is too tight, when the pelvic floor muscle, this muscle, if it is too tight, what can happen? So some symptoms of the pelvic floor muscle tension include constipation. That's one of the concerns. They'll not be able to pass motion easily. They'll not be able to relax the rectus pubrectalis to pass motion. So constipation, painful intercourse is another concern. When the patient comes with the history of the painful intercourse, we should not start directly doing the Kegel exercise. They have to really first understand what exactly the muscle status is. Pelvic pain happens usually because of there will be nothing else other than there'll be deep pelvic pain, cramping pain. They'll say, I have cramping pain, deep radiating pain. It can be a trigger point also, but it can be a pelvic pain also. Inability to empty proper dropper, and they will, when they'll pass urine, half empty bladder, they'll stop, and they'll have a frequent urination also. So the same, they're not capable of emptying proper bladder also, called as your tight pelvic floor muscle, and painful urination. Painful urination we always associate with the infection also, but yes, this is another part. Painful urination could be because of your tight pelvic floor muscle also. And what will happen? What will happen if your pelvic floor muscle is loose? If your pelvic floor muscle is loose, the first thing which we always see, urinary incontinence. We all are familiar with this name. We all aware about the pelvic floor muscle. So we, whenever pelvic urinary incontinence, so very clearly we say, okay, this is a loose. Yes, this is a loose pelvic floor muscle. Urgency and frequency of the urine. Passing a stool and gas without, they cannot, the incontinence of the stool and gas. So they're not really able to sustain the hold and contraction, and they're not able to hold the gas. They lose gas, and they can't control. Pelvis organ prolapse, it's big when if it is, it's from long and the treatment we could not address the condition, and if it is there from long, then there is a possible it will start dropping flex, and the organ is just no control over, and it started sagging down through the vagina and other openings. So sexual dysfunction also. The muscle is not tight enough, so they will not be able to appreciate the sexual activity. And pelvic girdle pain. If it is not holding your core, the pelvic will not be stabilized well. The pelvic bone would not be stable. So there is the possibility of another pelvic girdle pain. So this is how. Okay. So there is a many of things that's coming in and out. Okay. Yeah. So how to discover your pelvic floor muscle? So I have told you overall about. So I have told you, let me revise once again. I have told you you have a muscle which is there in your bony component. You have a deep muscle which is like a saucer, and which is maintaining all women all three outlet. It's controlling the outlet of your pelvis, your body, and it assists the excretion system also, and it supports your stability. It supports your trunk. It has a lymphatic advantage. It has a sphincter control. These are the things we've been talking about. We understood what exactly it is associated with. Let's understand how to discover where exactly on us today on us, where exactly this pelvic floor is located. So we can see the biceps and we can contract the biceps, but we can't see pelvic floor muscle. Sometimes that's the biggest problem. So we cannot be knowing where exactly located, and we voluntarily contraction of the pelvic floor muscle. We started doing something other trick movements along with the pelvic floor. So let's understand what exactly feeling of the pelvic floor muscle contraction should be there. So how we say to the patient, first of all, you should make a patient in comfortable. I would ask everybody to, whoever sitting on the chair or sofa, sit comfortable, sit on your sitting bone. Do not even slouch so much forward, neither you slouch so much, neither you no anterior, no posterior. You have to have a neutral pelvis position. In this position, your pelvic floor area is kept on your chair. And then, so that is a down area. So that is around the rectum and vaginal area. So you will be holding as like passing when we pass urine and we try controlling. I know this everybody been saying about. So whenever you pass urine, trying to hold and stop urine, and when you're capable of stopping urine, that is your pelvic floor muscle. But remember very thing clearly. When you say this to the patient, very clearly write it down under your statement saying that this activity is for test. This activity do not consider as an exercise. And this activity should be performed at least 15-20 days in frequency or 1 month in frequency. It should not be checking every day to find, oh, let me see how much my pelvic floor muscle is strengthened up. No. If you are doing excessive holding the urine at the time of possibility, you might retain urine back, and that will can cause the infection also, UTI also. So don't do it. This is only to feel it where exactly the functional, the pelvic floor muscle is relaxed and functioning at the time you hold, and you are allowing your pelvic floor muscle to work, and that is how your pelvic floor muscle. So another way to understand how exactly. So many people they think as like a straw you're trying to take a water from the straw. This is how you have to take it in. Some people will say feel like a marble and trying to lift towards up. So this is another way to say. For you, if you want to understand, I would say best way to understand. You first of all you feel when you're sitting, you feel your coccyx, you feel your pubic symphysis. So where exactly pubic symphysis? So you just place your hand on the belly on your navel area, go from down the end of the belly. There is a bony prominent that is your pubic symphysis. So when you're holding your pubic symphysis, that is a time feel that you are trying to bring your coccyx towards your pubic symphysis without slouching. You try bringing your coccyx towards the pubic symphysis. So that is the time in between there is a muscle sling which will contract to bring it together. This is also another way to understand how to contract the pelvic floor muscle. But unfortunately, what I found in my clinical practice, when they are really suffering with pelvic floor muscle weakness, if their really pelvic floor muscle weakness is there, they really will not be able to direct contract with your pelvic floor muscle. So when they are not capable of contracting the pelvic floor muscle direct, you can use your finger method to make them understand how exactly the pelvic floor muscle contraction happening. Or if it is contraindicated, evaluation, internal examination is contraindicated, the best method is gonna be activate the other core muscle. The pelvic floor muscle is core, activate other core muscle that will help to contract your pelvic floor muscle. So let's understand much more about. And second thing, always instruct the patient to understand where exactly we've been explaining with their pelvis, their placement, but they really need to see where exactly located with the biofeedback mirror. It has to be kept in front of. When they're contracting the pelvic floor muscle up, they will be able to see how exactly it's contracting and getting in. they'll be able to see the pelvic floor muscle get contracted and move, along with how exactly the anal and the vaginal area also is getting squeezed in. So when they see, they'll be able to think about, they'll be able to correlate when they're doing the pelvic floor muscle. So without seeing, it will be like blank. So I appreciate, like always, you suggest them to do mirror biofeedback, mirror self-evaluation, and once in a while urine test. This is very important. Pelvic floor muscle, when they are saying I'm working too hard to contract my pelvic floor muscle, remember, it means they're not contracting a pelvic floor muscle. Pelvic floor muscle is contraction is something else, something when your person who is sitting next to you will not be able to identify you're doing pelvic floor muscle. And if you're squeezing yourself, bending over the body and just rolling up, so those things you say, you're activating everything other than the pelvic floor muscle. So pelvic floor muscle is very gentle contraction and it will help to contract. So the biggest myth about the pelvic floor muscle, it has to contract. I've been talking about even it has to contract. But if I'm working on my other musculature and muscle, so it has to contract, it has to relax, and it has to lengthen. This is the full range of motion. So the same way pelvic floor muscle also has to contract, has to relax, and has to lengthen. So this is a full pelvic floor muscle. So this I'm going to teach you how exactly it happens. And let's do another. So we have done the simple pelvic floor muscle contraction. Let's do little more stronger pelvic floor muscle contraction. So I'm sure you people are sitting on sofa or chair. Be seated. Take a deep breath in and out. Place one hand on your chest, another hand on your belly. Relax yourself. No shrugging shoulder. No making tight. If you need, you can take back rest also. So simple. So when you are taking a deep breath and when you're taking breathe out, so you see your abdominal contraction is happening. Yeah, when you're breathing out, expiration when you're doing, that is the time your contraction of the belly you can see. Along with the contraction of belly, if it's little concentrate, you can see the pelvic area is getting tilted up and lifted up. Let's do once again. This is how. So let's do the flooring. First floor, second floor, third floor. I know it's very difficult. Just give a try. So place your position. Take a deep breath in. Breathe out, expiration. So that's the first lip. You have contracted your belly and you contract your pelvic floor muscle. Hold down, don't release. And again, take a deep breath in and contract on top of. You can see you are able to appreciate. So breathing, I have given you a way to understand, assist you to feel level 1, level 2, level 2. So it will contract and contract and contract. And then relax. So this exercise is not supposed to perform when they have a tight pelvic floor muscle. It should be only with the loose muscle or normal pelvic floor muscle. So then it will get over contract over tight pelvic floor. So understand the 3 layers of the pelvic. So I have associated with the breathing. Later, you should practice such a way you should be without the other assistive core muscle. You should be able to perform 1, 2, and 3. Hold 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Okay, so this is how which I have given you 2 level of the pelvic floor muscle. And let's understand the third thing. So I've been talking about when your pelvic is not kept well. If your pelvic is not kept with the right anatomical angle, if it is posture is not correct of your pelvic, then the efficient contraction of the muscle would not be there. So for example, I have kept a picture number 1, where the pelvic is extremely anteriorly tilted. So you do, everybody just try doing it. Protrude your belly out, pull your symphysis pubis forward. And then you see your coccyx is getting elevated. What is happening? Right? What is happening when you're stretching forward? So when you're stretching forward, your pelvic floor muscle is getting lengthened up. In this position, you sit in this position and tight your pelvic floor muscle. You can feel your pelvic floor muscle contraction, but you cannot reach full range of motion. You cannot reach your full contraction of the muscle. You can initiate, but cannot get full contraction because your posture of your muscle is not correct. Now, second, which I would tell you, then sit such a way where your pelvis is posterior tilted. Everybody sat with posterior tilted, you slouch yourself. Just slouch out, right? And your pelvic symphysis is lifted up, your coccyx went down. This is a position. Now tight your pelvic floor muscle. And you will be able to find that it is contracting, but it's not, will not be able to feel the good full contraction. And the contraction is more towards the back. And forward, the contraction was more towards the front. So this is how. So when, if you imagine some patient, if they come with a inappropriate posture and the posture itself is not proper, and without correcting a posture you have given the pelvic floor muscle rehabilitation, it is not going to work. It will work only when the pelvis is kept in proper postural alignment, your spinal alignment. This is also a very important point to see when you're treating a pelvic floor. So next, which is very favorite of mine, coordinate of your pelvic floor muscle with the inner core. Now that you know that how to find your pelvic floor, here come and do the tricky movements. So right now you know, see I'll tell you, whenever we talk about the core muscle, let's for a few seconds forget about everything. Let's think about core muscle. So everybody, whenever our stomach is hanging out, stomach getting bigger and we are increasing the weight, first thing we start doing, crunches, plank, side plank, these all exercise we start doing it. But there is you know that this all the other thing which you do high intensity exercise, which is more superficial than deep. When your deep muscle is not stronger, it will not even reach to your deep muscle. So till the time your muscle is not activated, your all core muscle is not activated, doing plank and this exercise is really not going to work on your patient either only. So it's so important to isolating the contraction of all four muscles. So you know that as we studied about your pelvic floor muscle, the abdominal also, there is an immediate skin first we have. When we have corset, the belly, first we have skin. Inside the skin, we have the skin and then superficial muscle rectus abdominis, which is running from top to down, straight line you can see in the picture. And then we have a side, internal and external, side curve with support, internal and external oblique curve. Then deepest muscle is your transverse abdominis. So you have to activate your deepest muscle. Then only you will be able to activate your pelvic floor muscle. So let's start from your diaphragm. So I think I'm running out of time. So let's start with your diaphragm. We have seen the other video earlier. So right now I need everyone just to inhale. When you inhaling, your pelvic floor muscle is relaxed. And when you exhaling, that is the time pelvic floor muscle is contracting. So you can see in this picture, this is how each time diaphragm works, your pelvic floor muscle works. If diaphragm and pelvic floor muscle works, your transverse abdominis works. Believe me, who is the person who is having the good abdominal breathing capacity and they know how to breathe and how to stand and how to walk, they'll never have a protruded belly. And when you see abdominal girth is increasing and increasing every day and by day, and you're not knowing what to do and you're doing all the exercise, first correct your pattern of breathing, which is the most important exercise every day which you're doing. So I try to explain you some of the exercise here. Now I'll be showing you lots of breathing. I know it looks so silly, but believe me, don't look at so much instrumental. Half of your pelvic problem will get corrected with just correcting your core and alignment. Very rarely with the medical refer cases come, definitely it comes like of 50-60% it comes with the medical referral cases. Those cases I use instrumental and other things. But the basic treatment usually is this. So, to see how exactly I'm doing, this is how the wrong breathing pattern. You can see how it is. Whenever breathing, you can see how, you can see chest moving up, belly going in. So when you chest moving up, belly going in, this is a reverse breathing, paradoxical breathing, remember. When you are breathing this, you are not engaging your pelvic floor muscle, you are not doing your abdominal. I would ask you, you are sitting, I am talking, you sit and do it and see. You just raise your chest so much, tug your belly, and you will not be feeling anything on your pelvic floor area happening. So when you've been practicing like that, so that is a first step of loosening your pelvic floor muscle activity. My second video you can see. So I need you to concentrate on upper belly and how the chest moving, how upper belly moves. This is the second level of concentration. Once again, see this and breathe out. Breathe in. I'm just giving you a little pressure to make you understand how exactly it is going in and out. Yeah. So this is the epigastric abdominal area is moving. Once you go deeper and deeper, you get more deeper muscles involved. See how it is more deeper muscles involved? I am marking the pubic symphysis outer line. I'm placing my hand on the lower belly and upper belly. See, I'm starting with the upper belly. And you can see the lower belly is getting shifted, not up and downward. And the third level will be the contraction of the pelvic floor. This is how the deeper you involve your abdominal corset, the deeper pelvic floor muscle is getting involved. So these are the breathing exercises I need you to practice. I have shown you chest breathing, I have shown you upper abdomen breathing, I have shown you how to concentrate upper abdomen and lower abdomen. And at the same time, if you place your hand on the side of your belly also, you'll see the same thing. So just place an individual area you just feel. The topical breathing you understand. And when you're really able to appreciate those, that means you each time you breathe, consciously or unconsciously, you're going to contract your pelvic floor muscle. So now I'm going to concentrate how to combine your core muscle with the strengthening pelvic floor muscle. That was a level 1. Remember, whenever the patient comes, I always start with the level 1. When I feel they're recovering, because when you practice, you'll feel it is looking so easy, but it is not as easy as expected. So you can see the other exercise which I'm trying to do here. So the exercise which I'm trying to do, where I'm involving a core muscle. Many of the exercises I'll explain, because I'm involving a core muscle with the pelvic floor muscle. You can have a look here. See how I'm engaging a transverse abdominis muscle. See how the transverse abdominal muscle getting tightened and protruded, like getting tight, and legs, and tight, and legs. This is how you have to engage your transverse abdominis. When you're able to engage your transverse abdominis muscle, you're able to engage your pelvic floor. When I'm moving this, I'm not lifting my buttocks, I'm not shifting my thighs so much in and out, I'm not lifting my chest up. Remember this. This exercise, my movement is not there so much. Very mild movement, I'm only engaging the transverse abdominis. This is how you have to teach. Next video. So where the pelvic floor muscle contraction. So another exercise which we are using, you can place a ball, you can place any pillow, squeeze, back press, and adduction. This is a little next level of the exercise when you are able to treat your patient. Start with engage your transverse abdominis or core muscles and then give a pressure to adductors. This is also another exercise to stimulate the pelvic floor muscle. Next exercise, I think. It's a similar one. Yeah. The next exercise, this all is next and next level. This is all not supposed to do together. Let's begin with 1, 1, 1, 1. So you can see how exactly I am rolling out. This is your obturatus internal strengthening. As I told you, variformis obturatus muscle also is so important for your pelvic floor muscle, so you cannot keep it isolated. When you're training your pelvic floor muscle, you must engage those muscles also. Another muscle where again all pelvic floor, all the floor of the pelvic floor muscle I'm engaging, along with stabilizing the pelvis and my core muscles. Alignment of your spine, straight your trunk, 30-degree bending the hip and knee. Opening your knee as much as you're not rolling back. So this is when you feel you're rolling back, it means you're not able to engage your pelvic floor. Second level, the same exercise. Make sure your elbow and shoulder is aligned. And again, you're not rolling your trunk. When you are opening your knee, the adduction and abduction of the knee, you're not supposed to shift your trunk back and front. It has to be well stabilized, but this is with elevated shoulder. Again, stabilizing your back, trunk, you can see how our initial position is. And this is all also surrounding muscle along with the pelvic floor muscle. Core muscle with the pelvic floor contraction. Press and pretend that you're bringing your foot away. Press, this is also internal obliquus. Pretend that you're pressing your knee and bringing your foot away. It would have been definitely fun if I would have done with you all, but yeah, that opportunity we could not get. I would have been there in Malaysia now, but yeah, this is how you have to start at least practicing. This is again with the core muscle, with the pelvic floor muscle. Press your back, stabilize your back, bring your knee and hip 90-90, maintain for 5 seconds and drop down. Okay, I'm just repeating. Yeah. So this is a sum of home program exercises. This is a sum of home program exercises which you can see where 90-90 on floor and pressing your knee down, being a deep lunges with support, wall support, spine line with the extension of the straight hand, knee on top of foot on top of other knee, and keeping one tennis ball under the glute to massage, and again against wall, and there is no non-elastic belt. She has a fixed foot aligned to hip, knee, and ankle, and just trying to extend away, trying to open up away. So this is all about I wanted to share with you. This is all max I can share. Definitely I need to evaluate on you, touch on you, explain on you, see how correct and how well you people are doing. But yeah, this is how I can really virtually I can share. This is I can understand this is too minimum. But further scope of study which we have, there is a lot further scope. So first thing which I definitely would love if you can practice mapping your pelvic floor muscle from external, the gluteal, the external vaginal area, how exactly to map a pelvic floor muscle, how to understand this is the location of the pelvic floor muscle, this is the location of the glute. This is very important for you. Second thing, assessment is very important part which I will need everyone to do. Sensory examination around the vaginal area to understand and the nerve entrapment, surgical sensory problem. That treatment is different. So per vaginal assessment and palpitation, internal muscle tightness, trigger point, loose muscle, legs muscle, painful. So anything which you have to do the per vaginal examination only. Treatment for the planning according to the assessment treatment plan long term and short term. Trigger point identification, not only the inside the vagina, there will be outside and the gluteal inner thigh and lower abdominal. These are the trigger points usually which we expect. Identifying the trigger point and what trigger point is saying what. So this is very important. We have a specific pelvic floor rehabilitation trigger points. Then all previous listed pelvic floor conditions which I'll be explaining you. Preventive plans. So once the patient will get treated, you have to treat long term and not have it should not reoccur again. So preventive plan you have to give. Assessment scale which we use, Oxford scale and the perfect schema by Bayrock. This is the scale which you use. I would definitely like you practicing those scales. And electrical stimulation. The electrical stimulation, you can see the next slide of mine. The probe, which it is a vaginal probe, the same way we have an inner probe also. And then transvaginal electrical stimulation, this is called as, it has a small portable device which is connected with your electrical stimulation. And then feedback. So this, the feedback you can see, the tip is bulb. We insert inside, then contract the pelvic floor muscle, grading comes 1 to 3, you have contracted 1, 2, good, very good, nice. This is how the verbal and visible feedback comes, and this is how it is very good patient to understand where exactly they're contracting, not contracting the glutes and muscles and assessing. And then pelvic floor, pelvic cone and the pelvic weight, which we use very regularly to giving a next level of the strengthening programs. So these are the most common diagnosis referral which we receive, which is urinary fecal incontinence, dysfunction, voiding, constipation, prolapse, vulvodynia, vestibulitis, vaginal rectal pain, pelvic pain, lower quadrant abdominal pain, abdominal pelvic floor muscle scar tissue, post-prostatectomy, oncology, pre-postnatal care, pediatric pelvic floor dysfunction. That's another subject here. Oh, this is too long. Dyspareunia, vulvodynia, vulvar vestibulitis, vestibular syndrome, anismus, coccydynia, low back pain and with herniated disc also related to pelvic floor muscle, pudendal nerve entrapment, scar adhesion, interstitial cystitis, endometriosis, and the trauma. So these are the things which we're going to talk further. There is a long list, but I need you to begin somewhere, start treating a patient. First, you identify on you. Wherever you are, you start treating there. Engage this all exercise on them because it has no harm. But identify what kind of the weakness and what kind of diagnosis is important. So I would appreciate if you can engage these exercises. And thank you so much giving me so much time. And you know, if I start, I don't stop. So thank you so much. And I don't know what to do next. Any question you can ask? Question?
Thank you very much, Dr. Shagufta. I know it's a 2 day session, but very nicely you concised into 1 hour program within the time limit. I thank you
No
very
talking
much.
from one side. The
So
feedback is not I'm receiving.
if
This
you
is
have any questions, you can put up questions to Dr. Shagufta now.
Which way we start the pelvic floor listeners.
Please unmute your phone, put the question, then mute your phone back.
From which month we start pelvic exercise after delivery?
Okay, that's nice. Yeah, then you can have written. Yeah, yeah. Yes, yes, yes. See, I'll tell you, the concentration was not, the question is, I have a question. We focus more on younger women. How about for geriatric? Believe me, the exercise plan which I have given, it's not for younger. This is for all groups. This is only for the pelvic floor muscle. Whoever actively having the pelvic floor muscle for them. Start for the pediatric, not only the younger. Pediatric from the geriatric. So every age group, but yeah. So the kind of exercise we involve, it is different. The geriatric patient has different kind of problem compared to pediatric group. So the treatment plan, but somehow the basic exercise which I have given you, it's something gonna be working. Maybe the leg raising up and all should not involve, but breathing can involve definitely, and believe me, it will help. Make them understand how to engage the pelvic floor muscle with the breathing, with the activity, postural correction, then Kegel exercise, biofeedback, this will work there. So start at least with that part. Another question which I could read. Okay. Okay. How to know if we are type pelvic? Oh yeah. So yeah, this is the evaluation here. This is the internal examination and evaluation, and with the symptoms we assist. So yes, we will be connecting for evaluation, proper evaluation. So I'll be really able to lesson. But I have given you another list of tight muscles. So if you have tight muscle, these are the symptoms. So maybe you can go through again. We will PT will be available, so you'll be able to understand what exactly the tight muscle symptoms will be there. So you will get your answer for that. So stretching we have to involve if the muscle is tight, but stretching again with the postural correction. So first you have to always, whenever you are treating, whatever the condition they come up, first you identify why this problem has come up. Is it postural? It is strain? It is intra-abdominal pressure? It is trauma? It is childbirth? What exactly? What could it is genetic? I don't know. There is a lot of things. Till the time you're not finding a proper diagnosis, your treatment will not be able to be proper. So it's very important having a history and diagnosis. Thank you so much, dear. And yeah, thank you so much. So which month we start Kegel after delivery? Okay, this is very interesting. I don't know, there is a lot of literature available. But believe me, I start Kegel exercise on 15 days. I know people might be saying you should not be doing the Kegel exercise for 6 weeks. Why not to do Kegel exercise with 6 weeks? The Kegel exercise has to get recover as early as possible. Do you know if they have episodes on the scar and all, and if there is so much trauma of the pelvic floor muscle, just minor contraction and relaxation of the pelvic floor muscle itself will release all the edema of the bottom edema, the perineum edema and the vaginal edema, and the bottom pain will release. It's so important to start the Kegel exercise from earliest possible, as early they can perform. There is a nothing that how many months and day it can start as early as possible. So, ma'am, please can you show a video on how to stretch the levator ani muscle? Yeah. So, levator ani muscle, I have given you some of the video which I have not specified the levator ani only said the deep, complete the texture with the pelvic floor muscle which is involved all together in and out and connecting muscles it gets gonna get stretched. So I would say rather than specific levator ani, try stretching both sides. In one slide, I have given you how to stretch a pelvic floor muscle also. IFT for pelvic floor. So IFT is a pain relief thing actually. So other than IFT, we have lots of other modalities which we are using for pelvic floor muscle stimulator. So usually that helps to stimulate a pelvic floor muscle up. So I would say to use those, and I have seen practically the external electrodes is not efficiently able to reach the deep pelvic floor muscle. So the device, transvaginal device, is really recommended. But the patient with the young patient, we don't do any transvaginal device. For that, we will be teaching with the external exercise and other muscle engagement. So this is how which we treat. So another, hi doctor, is it nice meeting you? Thank you so much, dear. And how to manage a patient with a tight pelvic floor muscle? Yeah, yeah. So tight pelvic floor, as I told you, first you have to diagnose why tight pelvic floor muscle. Then only you can, till the time you're not identifying the reason, you can't treat. Other than I have given you some basic stretching. I haven't given you very specific condition stretching which would go longer. I've given you basic stretching. If it is simple reason which you're finding postural, just postural problem, you can engage with those exercises. It will be helpful. What is your plan of the treatment? Yeah, yeah. The plan of the treatment is first patient, seeing a patient, understanding a patient. So ask the patient to take it out as maximum history I can take it. Once I've taken the history, I can understood what exactly the direction I have to do, then only I do. If it is needed internal examination, I do it. If it is not, believe me, I don't do it unnecessarily. Once I understand what exactly the diagnosis and what is the history and what is the reason behind this problem, then only I start my plan accordingly. And those plan I follow up usually 1.5 to 2 months minimum it takes any pelvic floor muscle to react with the treatment. So what is the recommended repetition of the Kegel exercise? Yeah. So Kegel exercise is nothing that should be doing all bombarding of the exercise altogether. When you're doing so much of the Kegel exercise, there is a possibility of the pelvic floor muscle will get tired actually, and sore also. So always we expect to contract for 3 to 4 seconds and give a time for 3 to 4 seconds to relax. This is how. So maybe if you are contracted at 10 seconds and give a time as many seconds you contracted, 10 more seconds to relax. And you repeat for 10 times and rest. Don't end up doing together for half an hour. People they say, no, stand and do Kegel, walk and do Kegel, run and do Kegel. I would not be suggesting you to do that. That will somewhere will not be engaged with the muscle or it might interfere with or be tight muscle. So I would not suggest. Always beginners should be relaxing, comfortable, identify the pelvic floor muscle, begin with when they're confident they can carry on however they wanted to do. IFT muscle. Oh, IFT I would not recommend yet to treat the pelvic floor muscle actually. We have another as I had given you answer already, but we can connect further to make you understand. So thank you so much, Aisha Rana. How do you manage patients with the tight? Yeah, I know many of them were interested to understand the tight pelvic floor muscle. Believe me, this tight pelvic floor muscle has a history. So till the time you're not finding the history, not diagnosis, it will be difficult. But normal tight, basic tight, deep with the dome, the deep muscle, pelvic floor muscle, basic stretching what is needed, which I have given in my one of slides. So thank you so much, Aisha. Yeah, and yeah, again, no, I think actually been recommended very regularly, which we really don't recommend. We have a different stimulation, different stimulator, which really helps with the acting. How do you rehabilitate the patient with the pelvic bone while it's in? Okay. Do you get them to exercise while okay. So say tell you pelvic pose and the weight training will happen only when there is a basic muscle contraction they achieve. So you know that when we use resisting training when there is a basic tone and functioning properly. So definitely we can engage the further training exercise. This is advanced training I would ask you to say. This is advanced training and yes, when so again level. So when the stable stationary position they should use cone. And when they're comfortable and they're really able to perform well, then while exercise. So this is the progression here and that's extreme higher level of strengthening training I would say. Do you uh, how do you rehabilitate the patient with the pelvic bone? Okay, this is how I have answered. Okay, thank you so much. Shashikala, yeah, I remember you. Uh, so from Blueberry, thank you so much. So Janan, thank you so much, dear. What exercise would they come with? So what your experience with? Oh, it is awesome. It is awesome. Believe me, I love coming with you all. I always, that's a sweet, great time which I spend with you. I could connect with you. Believe me, I could connect with you. I don't know how you have taken me, but I like the tradition, being with you, connecting with you, clicking your pictures. Awesome. I'm missing those things right now. So believe me, yeah. So one more question, where we can find Excel assessment format? And you can connect me here actually. If you need anything else, we can connect it to Shikant sir and he can definitely help you further. Okay, 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 okay. Thank you
That's
so
all.
much. All of you. So usually visit, if you say, depend on condition to condition. If the patient is really able to identify, understand, they might be needed is thrice in a week to come, slowly can reduce to twice in a week and then once in a week and twice in a month. This is how progressively I progress with my patients. Electrical stimulation, it's very handy portable. I usually either give a rent and ask them to buy and use. But I don't use so many instruments. I told you 40-50%, but not always. So it's not so much. So lengthening the tight muscle, I have given you transfer. Yeah. So thank you so much. It was really great connecting with you all. Awesome. I am not able to see you all. I'm not liking this. I love seeing you all. So yes, we'll connect again. We'll hear from you, and I'll try my best to connect with you all once again. It's so nice connecting. So I hope we are done. Thank you so much. Thank you so much to Met Academy for helping me and asking me to come here and share my basic, I would say basic information, some of the information with you all. Thank you so much.
It's our
Shall I?
pleasure. It's our pleasure, Dr. Shagufta, and thank you very much for your time. Actually, Dr. Shagupta is supposed to come over to Malaysia and have a workshop this year, but I don't think so. It will happen this year. So most probably our next workshop on pelvic rehabilitation will be next year. And then to all the participants, thank you very much for attending this session. We will have another session, our next webinar on 18th July, coming 18th July. The webinar topic is integrated physiotherapy approach in the management of lymphedema. And the facilitator is Madam Yusufan. I believe here most of you know Dr. Yusufan. She is a present vice chair of WCPT, World Confederation of Physiotherapy, Asia West Pacific, and she is a former president of Malaysian Physiotherapy Association from 2012 to 2019. She is a president of Asian Confederation of Physiotherapy from 2016 to 2018 and vice president of Malaysian Confederation of Allied Health Professionals, which consists of 21 allied health professionals. She is a certified lymphatic therapist and certified trainer for lymphedema certification and certified therapist for Parkinson's wellness program. So our next session will be on 18th July. I hope all the participants here will rejoin again to get the knowledge from Dr. Yusuf. And with this, I would conclude the webinar for today. And thank you very much. Have a good day.